a WikiVidi Documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Deadpool, film. Deadpool is a 2016 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics character of the same name, distributed by 20th Century Fox. It is the 8th installment of the X-Men film series. The film was directed by Tim Miller from a screenplay by Rhett, Reese and Wernick, and stars Ryan Reynolds in the title role alongside Morena Baccarin, Skrein, T.J. Miller, Gina Carano, Brianna Hildebrand, and Stefan Kapičić. In Deadpool, Wade Wilson hunts the man who gave him mutant abilities, but also a scarred physical appearance, as the anti-hero Deadpool. Development of a Deadpool film starring Reynolds began in February 2004, before he went on to play the character in X-Men Origins, Wolverine in 2009. Reese and Wernick were hired in 2010, and worked with Reynolds to more faithfully adapt the character after the portrayal in Wolverine was criticized for not doing so. Miller was hired in 2011 for his directorial debut, and an enthusiastic response to leaked test footage he created with Reynolds led to a green light from Fox in 2014. Additional casting began in early 2015, and filming took place in Vancouver from March to May. Visual effects were provided by multiple vendors, and ranged from the addition of blood and gore to the creation of the CG character Colossus. Deadpool was released in the United States on February 12, 2016, after an unconventional viral marketing campaign. The film became both a financial and critical success. It earned over $783 million against a $58 million budget, broke numerous records, and became the overall highest-grossing R-rated film, the highest-grossing X-Men film, and the 9th highest-grossing film of 2016. Deadpool received critical praise for Reynolds' performance, the film's style and faithfulness to the comics, and its action, though some criticized the plot as formulaic as well as the sheer number of jokes in the film. It also received numerous awards and nominations, including 2 Critics' Choice Award wins and 2 Golden Globe nominations. Deadpool 2 is set for release on May 18, 2018. Plot: Wade Wilson is a dishonorably discharged Special Forces operative working as a mercenary in New York City when he meets escort Vanessa. They become romantically involved, and a year later she accepts his marriage proposal. However, after Wilson is diagnosed with terminal cancer, he leaves Vanessa without warning so she will not have to watch him die. A mysterious recruiter approaches Wilson, offering an experimental cure for his cancer. He is taken to Ajax and Angel Dust, who inject him with a serum designed to awaken latent mutant genes. They then subject him to days of torture to induce stress to trigger any mutation Wade may have, but without success. When Wilson discovers Ajax's real name, Francis, and mocks him for it, Ajax leaves Wilson in a hyperbaric chamber that takes him to the verge of asphyxiation periodically over the weekend. It finally activates a superhuman healing ability that cures his cancer, but leaves him severely disfigured with burn-like scars over his entire body. He escapes from the chamber and attacks Ajax, but relents when told that his disfigurement can be cured. Ajax subdues Wilson, and leaves him for dead in the burning laboratory. Wilson survives and seeks out Vanessa, but then does not reveal he is alive, afraid of how she would react to his new appearance. After consulting his best friend Weasel, Wilson decides to hunt down Ajax for the cure. He becomes a masked vigilante, adopting the name Deadpool, and moves into the home of an elderly blind woman named Al. Deadpool questions and murders many of Ajax's men until one, the recruiter, reveals Ajax's whereabouts. Deadpool intercepts Ajax and a convoy of armed men on an expressway, killing everyone but Ajax. He demands the cure, but is interrupted by the X-Man Colossus and his trainee Negasonic teenage warhead. Colossus wants Deadpool to mend his ways and join the X-Men. Taking advantage of the distraction, Ajax escapes. He goes to Weasel's bar and learns of Vanessa. Ajax kidnaps her and takes her to a decommissioned helicarrier in a scrapyard. Deadpool convinces Colossus and Negasonic to help him rescue Vanessa, while Colossus and Negasonic battle Angel and several soldiers. Deadpool fights his way to Ajax. During the battle, Negasonic accidentally destroys the equipment stabilizing the helicarrier. Deadpool protects Vanessa from the falling ship, while Colossus carries Negasonic and Angel to safety. Ajax attacks Deadpool again, but reveals that there is no cure after Deadpool overpowers him. Despite Colossus pleading, Deadpool kills Ajax, though he promises to try and be more heroic moving forward. Though Vanessa is angry at Wilson for leaving her, she reconciles with him. Cast. Additionally, Leslie Uggams portrays Blind Al, an elderly blind woman and Deadpool's roommate. Uggams said that Al has been through British intelligence, she's done all kinds of wild and crazy things. She's old, but she's feisty. Uggams added that Al has a love/hate relationship with Deadpool. Karen Sony appears as Dopebinder, a taxi driver who befriends Deadpool, and Jed Reese portrays a recruiter for Ajax. X-Men co-creator Stan Lee and Deadpool co-creator Rob Liefeld make cameo appearances as a strip club MC and a patron of Weasel's Bar, respectively. Rob Hayter makes a cameo appearance as Bob, agent of Hydra, a recurring character in the comics alongside Deadpool. The rights for Bob are owned by Marvel Studios, who did not give permission for him to be used in the film, so his comic history and connections to the organization Hydra are not referenced in the film. He is instead explained as a former Special Forces operative like Wilson. Wolverine star Hugh Jackman was very supportive of Deadpool, and of it making fun of himself and his character, and is seen in the film via his People's Sexiest Man Alive magazine cover. Development. Artisan Entertainment announced a deal with Marvel Entertainment in May 2000 to co-produce, finance, and distribute several films based on Marvel Comics characters, including Deadpool. By February 2004, writer and director David S. Goyer and star Ryan Reynolds were working on a Deadpool film at New Line Cinema after working together on the Marvel film Blade Trinity. Reynolds was interested in the part after learning that Deadpool refers to his own appearance in the comics as Ryan Reynolds crossed with a sharp A. The idea was championed by New Line executive Jeff Katz, who thought Reynolds was the only guy who can play that character. However, there were rights issues with 20th Century Fox and their X-Men films, and the project did not move forward. By March 2005, Fox had expressed interest in a film featuring Deadpool, and the character was set to make a cameo appearance in the 2009 film X-Men Origins, Wolverine, with Reynolds cast. His role was expanded during the production of that film. Katz was an executive at Fox by that point, and said that Deadpool was nicely set up to be explored in his own way in a future film. The film's portrayal deviates from the original comic character, imbuing him with several superpowers and sewing his mouth shut. The character also apparently dies in the film, though a post-credits scene showing the character still alive was added to the film shortly before its release. After the successful opening weekend of Wolverine, Fox officially began development on Deadpool, with Reynolds attached to star and X-Men producer Lauren Schuler Donner involved. The spin-off was set to ignore the Wolverine version of Deadpool, and go back to the roots of the character known for his slapstick tone and propensity to break the fourth wall. Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick were hired to write the script in January 2010, with Reynolds talking to the pair every day. He said that they were chosen because, tonally, they got it. They just understood Deadpool right off the bat. By that June, Robert Rodriguez had been asked to direct the film, which he confirmed a month later, saying he had been sent a really good script for Deadpool and was considering taking on the project. He was no longer interested in October, and Adam Berg was being looked at to direct. In April 2011, Tim Miller was hired to make his directorial debut with the film, after working on the visual effects for some of the X-Men films. Reynolds had also closed a deal with Fox to produce the film. Miller was hired in part because of his work creating animated short films, including the Academy Award-winning Go for Broke and a DC Universe Online trailer which was epic and cinematic. Everything Fox wanted their comic book movies to be. Reynolds' Green Lantern superhero film was released later in 2011 and was a disaster, tainting the project which Fox executives were already concerned with due to its R-rated content. The studio agreed after several meetings that the film could not be reconfigured to a more traditional page 13 rating, and gave Miller a low six-figure budget to produce some test footage. Miller created the footage with CGI at his animation company Blur Studio in 2012, with Reynolds voicing Deadpool. The footage did not convince Fox to greenlight the film. After the successful release of Marvel's The Avengers, Reese and Wernick thought Deadpool may have been approved as an already developed superhero film, but Fox was even more doubtful of the script then, and began exploring ways to potentially include Deadpool in an Avengers-esque team-up film. At different times during development, James Cameron and David Fincher, both friends with Miller, read the film's script and championed the project to Fox executives. The test footage was leaked online in July 2014, and was met with an overwhelmingly enthusiastic response. That September, Fox officially gave Deadpool a release date of February 12, 2016. Production was set to begin in March 2015, with Simon Kinberg joining as producer. Reynolds, 100%, attributed Fox's green-lighting of the film to the leak. He, Miller, and the writers had discussed leaking the footage themselves before, and Reynolds initially thought that Miller had leaked the footage. He later believed that the leak came from someone at Fox. In exchange for being able to make the film how they wanted to make it, Fox gave the crew a much smaller budget than is typical for superhero films. Writing. Reese and Wernick wrote a draft of the script each year before completing the film, with around 70% of the initial draft ending up in the final film. Reese described Reynolds as the keeper of the Deadpool flame. For many years, if we ever do something that is off the Deadpool path, or if it doesn't feel like Deadpool, he catches it. The writers did not want the film to be an origin story, but Reynolds disagreed. They settled on a modern Deadpool story as well as the origin story, connected with Deadpool's narration and fourth wall breaking. This helped balance the darker origin story with the cartoon-like Deadpool scenes. It also allowed the opening fight sequence to be extended through the first half of the film, saving money on additional fight scenes. This fight sequence, labeled the 12 Bullets fight, reimagines the original test footage. Once the origin story is told, Deadpool uses a fast-forward button to take the audience back to the present day. In October 2014, Kinberg confirmed that Deadpool would be set in the same shared universe as the X-Men films, but would stand independently. The writers wanted a traditional X-Man in the film as a foil to Deadpool, and felt Colossus was a character that had not been explored much in previous films. Miller wanted more superhero stuff, instead of just Deadpool and a lot of guns, and the character Negasonic Teenage Warhead was added as a trainee X-Man mentored by Colossus. She was chosen from the list of comic characters available to be used by Fox, based on her name. The characters Garrison Kane, Wire, and Sluggo were included in the script at one point, but ultimately removed for budgetary reasons, while Cannonball and Tar Baby were also considered. The cut villains were replaced by a single character, Angel Dust. The character Cable was also set to appear, but was eventually pushed to a potential sequel so this film could get Deadpool on his feet first. The writers worked to keep the script's pop culture references up to date over the years of development. Kinberg confirmed that the film would make fun of Deadpool's portrayal in X-Men Origins, Wolverine. It also makes jokes at that expensive Green Lantern. While Miller felt that it was okay for audience members to not understand all of the jokes in the film, he wanted to avoid things specifically targeted to comic fans, saying that any joke that an audience needs to look up on the internet after the movie is not something I'm in favor of. The film's post-credits scene is a parody of the equivalent scene from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where the title character breaks the fourth wall like Deadpool. In the scene, Deadpool wears a bathrobe and tells the audience to go home. He also confirms that Cable will appear in the sequel. After reading the scene, a Fox executive described the film as Ferris Bueller's Day Off meets Natural Born Killers, which the writers felt was an accurate description. 48 hours before the film got the official green light from Fox, the studio cut the film's budget by $7.8 million, down to $58 million. This forced a last-minute rewrite that saw about 9 pages cut from the previously 110-page script. Changes included the removal of a motorcycle chase at the end of the 12 Bullets fight, and having Deadpool forget his bag of guns before the final battle sequence to avoid having a costly gunfight in the third act. Reese said, "It was that last, lean and mean shot that got us to a place where Fox was willing to make it. The script was very efficient and not too long. That was a function of budget more than anything, but I think it really made the movie pace nicely." Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?